Back here with Chris Caney, we're going viral. Jags QB Gardner Minshew spent his weekend at his alma mater getting the fans hyped for the Washington State-UCLA game, which had the internet asking a very important question. Who wore the jorts better, Gardner or Washington State mascot Butch T. Cougar?
Well, I like Gardner. Go ahead, C. Go ahead. Speak on it. Come on, say it, C. America's here to hear you talk, man.
The mascot got some cut-off Daisy Dukes on. And then my man with his hairy thighs and everything. Like, you can't do that, man.
No, but the mascot purchased that.
Yeah, he's a little bit different going with the jean shorts.
Gardner cut him himself.
Yes, no, Gardner did that on it for himself, and I'm certain.
Yeah, I didn't think he bought them.
Well, no, but it's a big deal when you cut them yourself. They're tighter in that area.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't
Because that's what Gardner Minshew should be going for.
Okay, well, none of it makes it right.
Yeah. They were pants first.
Right.
They cut them off, cut off the legs.
Yeah.
She's saying that when
you buy jeans and you cut the jeans off, they're a little tighter in that area.
Saying the shorts would have been looser, but that's not the point.
I know.
More importantly, I'm waiting for all the folks who have been coming at Cam Newton's head about his wardrobe choices. I assume Gardner's about to catch that same heat. Gardner wears the disco outfits, cut off shorts. I'm excited to read
Only one concerned about is Danny Cannell, man. I thought we had...
Our friend Peter King wrote about Cam's wardrobe today. A lot of people going at Cam. You're not even playing.
When you win football games, I guess that's one of those things where people look past.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
By the way, that Cougar, I like it. I don't like the fact that he's not in the full Cougar outfit. It's human legs with the Cougar upper body. I don't like that.
You're going to get our fans. It's a few women out there that Cougars, they're wanting to get the mascot.
Oh,
you got to
okay.
separate. You got to let them know.
All right, no problem.
Yeah.
On to the Eagles. Yesterday, they hosted the Lions in Philly. Many expected the Eagles to roll, but they came up short, losing 27-24. The team's banged up, and Philly receivers did not help out Carson Wentz. The team had 7 drop passes, 3 offensive pass interference penalties. Chris Caney, what did you take away from the Eagles' loss yesterday?
Too many miscues in order to try to win a football game. I mean, all of the things that you talked about, the drop passes, the OPIs, those all came back to bite them in that final drive that they have. After Malcolm Jenkins blocks the field goal, they got an opportunity right there. But you start off the drive, it was a drop by Zach Ertz, then you had a couple of drops by your receiver sprinkled in there. You thought they converted on the first down with the throw to Darren Sproles, but that ends up being OPI on him. So you just didn't give yourself an opportunity to get within field goal range to tie that ball game up. And when you recognize that this team was shorthanded, not having Alshon Jeffrey, not having Deshaun Jackson, you saw Jason Peters wasn't right. He was in and out of the game. And then Andre Dillard left that game early due to injury. So, I mean, when you're trying to overcome all of those personnel losses, if you have those type of mistakes, it's going to make it hard to win a football game.
And I know Philly fans are upset about the block in the back call on Malcolm Jenkins after the great play he made on the block field goal. You mentioned, C, you thought it was a bad call.
It definitely was a bad call.
After you mentioned, I went back and watched. Malcolm actually had retweeted a video of it this morning. It is 100% a bad call. You're 100% right on that. It was the player just turned his back to him and he was running full speed. But here's the thing. You're at home against Detroit. You shouldn't be in a position where you need a blocked field goal and not a bad call just to be in position to maybe kick the game-tying field goal. And even despite the bad call, you didn't have to score a touchdown on the drive. You had to score a touchdown to win, but a field goal gets you into overtime, and then you think Philly, the more talented team at home, having fought back, they'd be the favorite in that. But the drops were an outrage if you're Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has been fighting through a beleaguered offensive line, getting beat up repeatedly, and his numbers say he was okay yesterday. I actually thought Carson Wentz was pretty damn good, and the receivers just, the pass catchers, I should say, let him down. Dallas Goedert dropped as easy of a touchdown as you'll have in the NFL. Nelson Aguilar caught a pass and then instantly fumbled the football.
The worst one was J.J. Arcega-Whiteside at the end of the game with one-on-one coverage against Rashawn Melvin. You got to come up with that play. You got to make that catch for your quarterback.
And so for Philadelphia, and by the way, those Deshaun and Jeffrey, I wouldn't expect them to play their upcoming game because their upcoming game's in 3.5 days on Thursday night in Green Bay. They all of a sudden could be a team that falls to 1-3 with their division leader currently undefeated.
Alshon is a guy that I think potentially they thought they could get through the game and potentially he might be able to suit up. So watch for him on Thursday compared to D-Jack. I believe that's a couple-week injury. The Dallas Goedert, the drop. People who watch Philadelphia, they say, well, but they scored several plays after that. Dennis Green used to tell every wide receiver, if you drop a pass, it's like a turnover. And people say, wow, that's like 7 turnovers. You'll never win an NFL game like that. Everyone can't drop a pass. It's just like a penalty. The offensive lineman, left tackle, gets a holding call. He's like, oh, it's okay. You know, I got that one. Everyone else. Well, what about the rest of the team? So now everyone can't have a penalty. Everyone can't have a drop. And it's hard to improve in these things when what happened last Wednesday? You're not practicing. Too many injuries to be on the field. How does the team get better? Like, this is a scary situation for Philadelphia because, yes, they are deep, but their wide receiving core is hurt. No continuity on that offensive line. And Carson Wentz, it's like, can everything go wrong when he's at quarterback compared to Nick Foles had the little magic carpet ride? But Carson, week after week, it's one story after the next. And Nelson Aguilar dropped one last week against Atlanta. Was a critical drop down the sideline. And he starts off this game being their leading receiver. He starts dropping, and it just went through the whole offensive pass catchers.
And just real quick, remember how their season ended last year? After they win the playoff game on the double doink, they are trying to have
Alshon.
Furious comeback. And I mean, Nick Foles delivers a good pass to Alshon. Off his hands, intercepted, game over. Like, so while it wasn't a huge trend for them last year, it was the play that ended their season. Was a catchable ball that ended up being dropped or tipped to the opposition, and now it cost them another game, a game they have no business losing at home to the Lions.
How much has this changed the landscape in the NFC East now? I think a lot of people thought that the Eagles were the ones that would be in firm control of the division. It looks like the tides have turned, and it's the Cowboys.
Well, Jenna, we thought this was a 2-team race coming into the season. It was going to be the Cowboys and the Eagles. It's just that we thought the Eagles would get out to a much faster start. I mean, last year they got out to a slow start, but you could understand that because Carson Wentz was working his way back from the torn ACL. This year, I don't understand what the excuse is going to be. And then you couple the fact that they've had a slow start with the Dallas Cowboys getting out to a 3-0 start. I mean, this is a situation where the Eagles, they're trying to position themselves to compete for a championship. And when you get out to this kind of start, it hurts your team. It puts you in a hole, and it creates a lot more work for you to try to get up out of that hole, especially when your other division rival is handling their business. So, yes, I am concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles from the standpoint of this team trying to put themselves in position for the postseason. It's a lot easier when you're talking about hosting home playoff games as opposed to having to go on the road. We brought it up a couple of years ago when they won the Super Bowl. All of those playoff games they had were at home until they got to the Super Bowl. Last year, they didn't have that luck. They had to go on the road. They actually got one win, but then they ended up losing to New Orleans. So it's important to be able to have an opportunity to play at home in January, especially when you have a team that has championship aspirations.
And I understand Dallas hasn't played the toughest schedule thus far. In fact, they've played maybe their softest stretch of their schedule. But this Eagles stretch wasn't supposed to be that tough either. 2 games at home, Washington and Detroit, a game in Atlanta, an Atlanta team that, by the way, looks lost. And now you look at Philadelphia as a season, 12 quarters. It's like, all right, well, they were terrible in that first half against Washington. They played a good half to furious comeback against Washington. Atlanta tried to give that game away multiple times with Matt Ryan mistakes, and Philadelphia loses that game. And Detroit from the, I mean, the NFL tried to essentially remove kick returns from the game, and they get a kick return touchdown.
Yep.
You have, when you're trying to make a comeback before the half, Alshon just lays the ball on the ground. Like, Dallas, to me, through 3 weeks, has been a team that has been as impressive as any team in the league. Philadelphia's got to be one of the most disappointing teams in the league through 3 weeks, even if we think injuries are a huge part of it.
All right, Candy, stick around. Take a break. Coming up, Patrick Mahomes outduels Lamar Jackson. Next on First Things First.